Good morning, everybody. I want to send a big wow you guys to pretty much everyone on YouTube. These videos, they're kind of hard to do, and just to maintain a decent update structure every day. And I don't want to just sit in front of my camera and rant. So, anyways, I'm gonna make it quick today. I really don't have any topics. So I'm just going to put together a short time-lapse video of me working on a poster for a fundraiser that I'm working on. It's quick, it's fun. I'm going to take my characters, I'm going to give them kind of a 1950s Mad Men flair, which is actually a style I love to do. And I will see you guys in the funny pages once I'm done. So I basically started with a pre-sketch. I had sort of an idea of the direction I was going, and just really outlined the basic shapes and the characters that I was doing. Mostly I was doing silhouettes, so the sketches are pretty loose. I'm just going through with a pen tool right now in Illustrator and blocking in all the shapes, adjusting where I need to, playing with the color palettes. A lot of my time was just playing with color palettes because there's a lot of different ways you can go, and I don't 100% trust some of the color palettes out there, just because, well, let's face it, a lot of color palettes are built by people and they can be adjusted. I think I actually did eventually go with a blue and orange palette, and then just tweaked it a little bit to get some shade and variation going. I finished doing the head, so now I'm working on the body and a lot of the other bits of design here. Again, this one's, I wanted everything to look a little more shapy, a little more blocky, so rather than what I normally do, which is use the brush tool and modify it and give it some nice thick outlines, I just went in with a lot of basic shapes and filled them in with color. Alright, so then I'm creating basically a foreground object, which is this Ed character, the martini shaker, and the table. Adding a little bit of a highlight to it. And yeah, then just brought it down, adjusted the shape. I put up a few guides to make sure I was working sort of within the rule of thirds. And now I'm just really going in, blocking out the silhouettes. Again, I pretty much had designed most of the characters, and because I tend to sketch pretty loosely, I usually fill in. Yeah, I usually trust my Illustrator abilities to fill in the characters. Canna here was kind of hard. I had misplaced a few things. They got easier from there, especially with Rocco here. I just kind of made him very blocky. And again, you don't have to worry about any fine details like hands or anything. And yeah, again, just blocking the shapes. I pretty much made them all the same color and then hid them. And eventually I will go back in and adjust the colors and adjust the shading so that you can actually see them as well as their position. This was actually a good exercise. I really started to focus on the shapes and the contours of the individuals, which is something you should be doing. Heck, it's something I should have done at the character development stage, but when I developed these characters, I had no idea what I was doing, and now I do. So again, we've got this lineup, a lot of different heights, a lot of different shapes, and I just put them behind, darkened them so they really stand out. Oh, there's the guides. Again, making sure everything lines up, because I've got my main character in basically the bottom 2/3 and the right third, and the rest of the characters fill up the bottom third. I figured I would leave the top third for the title, and then there ended up being a nice space for the text. Again, going in, doing some Illustrator type stuff, turned her around, changed her, moved her. I noticed there was a bit of a small hole. This one I'm kind of just doing from the top of my head. I realized didn't have a fairy, but again, made her a pretty standard shape. This actually worked out kind of well. I'm very impressed. And then I went in and added some of her sparkles. I was playing with different symbols. I couldn't actually find one I liked, so I just went in, I adjusted a star, and rather than making it a symbol, I just copied and pasted it around her. I didn't need much. Yeah, so then I started playing with the backgrounds, playing with hair color. At this point, I'd forgotten to do the olives. Added a highlight to the glass. Added a little bit more detail to the characters, and now I started dropping in a few drop shadows. I did the drop shadows with a 0 blur, so it looked like they were cutouts. And I would go in and I would actually adjust the drop shadow for every single layer. That way it looks like, instead of sunlight, which comes in at one direction, it looks like a artificial light placed about the center height. So the shadows on top are kind of casting up, and shadows on the bottom are kind of casting in different directions depending on their angles. All right, so now I'm onto the text. I went with a 3, 3, and 4. I don't know. It just visually it looks really nice, and it doesn't sound fantastic, but it looks really nice. It took me a little while to come up with some decent copy. That usually happens because, well, copy's important. I ended up picking a Gill Sans font. Gill Sans is probably one of the go-tos for designers, especially back in the day. Now the big trendy font is, of course, Helvetica, and I considered it, but I feel Gill Sans has a little more of that retro-y feel to it, and I actually find it really easy to work with. It's got a lot of nice lines to it. It makes it pretty easy to line things up. Now what I'm doing, what you'll see a lot of here, is me opening it up and comparing it. And this is me just going through other color palettes, seeing if I could maybe find something better. Opening it up and seeing how it looks as a JPEG, because really that's what it was going to go. I changed the colors of the olives because there was no other green on there. I didn't want it to stand out. And then there's the website, and compare it, save it, adjust a little more, look at some colors. Thank you everyone once again for stopping by. So, fundraising campaign is staying steady at 400. I've been taking some personal donations, and we'll be adding those to the event probably after the first week of March, once I'm done with this whole party fundraiser thing. With any luck, there'll be a giant spike in traffic, and we'll see then. Anyways, I'm going to enjoy this sunny day by staying in my basement and working on comics. So, cheers. Fresh, real coffee.